So this is a post for my liberal friends. I was on Facebook recently and I saw a comment from somebody who was very right-winged, very conservative, and it definitely lacked compassion. But I was really surprised at how many liberal people responded also lacking compassion. And not just lacking compassion, but also attacking this person's moral compass, essentially saying that they were not a good person. And I understand that reaction. I really do. It's hard when you don't understand how somebody could be what seems like so mean and callous. And you can't understand how they can't have their hearts broken open. I completely get that. But I think if we can't have compassion for those people, how can we expect them to have compassion for anyone? And I had this sort of epiphany where I realized I recently heard about this thing called compassion fatigue. It's a real thing. You can Google it or Wikipedia it. It is basically where a person essentially starts lacking compassion. They're fatigued. Their compassion is dried up like a well. And I felt it myself. My son, especially when he was a little bit younger, he'd run into doorknobs. He would hurt himself like 20 times a day. He would be bouncing off the walls. And the first few times it was easy to be compassionate and empathetic. But by the end of the day, when he would hurt himself for the millionth time, I found myself rolling my eyes and being like, oh, you need to be more careful. Like, this is your own fault. Studies have actually shown with compassion fatigue that it's much more likely to happen when people don't have resources. So if someone is struggling to keep a roof over their head, worried about feeding their family or the health and well-being of their loved ones, they have much less compassion to share. And I think that this then means they can't necessarily extend that compassion always past their inner circle. It's very easy to have compassion for someone who is like you, but it's very hard to have compassion for someone who you might not see eye to eye. And that's the real challenge. So it made me think, can we bring to social media, can we bring our compassion? Can we look at these people, their posts, not as what is wrong with this person, but how is this person hurt? What is the pain that is there behind this post that we're not seeing, that they're perhaps covering up? What is there that's preventing them from having that compassion? And I think if we can change our perspective and start to ask those questions, that we can start to respond in a more compassionate manner. And if we respond with more compassion, maybe they can then build their compassionate bank back up and show compassion as well. So my plea to all of you is that if you see a post that really gets you angry or in any way causes a strong reaction, see if you can just take a moment, take a breath before responding. See if you can bring some compassion. See if you can imagine a scenario that might be that this person might be lacking compassion for others, and see if you can bring compassion to them. And if you can't do that, maybe just don't post. And if you can, then maybe your compassion will build some compassion in them and at least inch us all just a little bit closer together.